Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc., the show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. Relax, the keyboard is off and the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Join your host, Lance Green, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, and your co-host, Ron, SteelFlyers, as we bring you all the latest on the Philadelphia Flyers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. with your host, Lance Green.
All right, guys, here we are again, another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc., a Flyers-centric podcast. And Steel, we have a fellow Flyers fan and employee, mind you, of the team with us tonight.
Oh, man, we got a very, very special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, the official photographer for the Philadelphia Flyers, Mr. Lenny Redkoles. Lenny, how are you, sir? And thank you very much for joining us.
Good. Doing good tonight, guys. Good to be with you again.
Yeah, man, we can't wait. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while. I just want to kind of catch up and see how everybody's doing, how the family's doing, how everybody's going on over there. You doing all right?
Yep, everything's fine, guys.
All right, good deal. The first thing I got to say to you right off the bat is we get to see you now more and more with the games now. When they go to Ashland, we get to see you on camera now, you know. So is that's a favorite spot for you guys, or is that a regular spot where you get
Well,
pictures?
I normally go there second and third periods because that's where the Flyers attack twice. If there's no broadcaster between the benches, that's where I like to shoot the first period because that way I can get some reaction off of both player benches, the visiting team and the home team. And so that's available. That's where I hang in the first. And then second and third, I'll go to that. It's where the Flyers attack. It's section 105. It's a handicap platform we work out of. You know, NBC Sports Philly uses it for the live TV hits. And then it's also one of the photo locations for the NHL.
Okay.
Nice. Well, hey, we get to see you during the game, so it's all good, right?
Hey, that's good.
So, Lance, you got one for him?
Yeah, so I was wondering while you were talking about, being along the glass there and everything like that. We've all seen those small camera windows, that you guys have to work through sometimes. And I was just kind of wondering, who's the most elusive Flyer to kind of catch through there over the years in your memory?
One of the toughest ones.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's the guys that skate the fastest.
Right.
Like Konechny or those guys, it's because the thing of it is when they come closer to that window, there's actually, if you notice, there's like a little window because we have to shut that window shut when the play becomes within 10 feet there because it's for player safety.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like a balancing act because you can shoot once the play's 10 feet out from that hole, that cutout hole.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, it's like I said, it's a give or take, who's the most elusive. But it's usually the guys that are speedsters to come in. Michkov's tough. He's tough. He's new. He comes in. He'll sit at the post and he'll come deep in the corner. Then he'll go back on the post again. He'll come in deep, looking for the pass. But it's like I said, it's just a work in progress between your lens and the closing a door and the play comes close. So
Nice.
Have you ever been caught off guard by a play and not shut it in time or whatever?
You gotta be on guard now.
Okay.
They're very, very. There's a lot of times you even pull back a little earlier just to shut that door because the league is they're very on top of it because it's all concerns about player safety and they don't want someone's hand or arm getting through there and getting twisted on an odd play. Then the player gets hurt. So you've got to maintain that sliding door closed when the play gets in close, like I said, within 10 feet of the opening.
Okay.
Makes sense, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So, and they're sticklers for that, though, right?
Yeah, the league is. They're tough.
Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna throw a photography question out here for you. Okay, now this is for some of our young viewers out there and those aspiring to be the next Lenny, right? Can you explain to our viewers the rule of three?
The rule of three.
The rule, RULE, rule of three.
The rule of three.
Yes.
Be honest, I don't have a clue what that is. The rule of
Okay.
three. Is that a steel rule?
No. It's a I guess it's how pictures are framed out. Like when you're taking a picture, and I guess they say there's a rule of three. I don't know. It was something that I saw, and I thought, hey, maybe I could ask him what a rule of three is. I don't know. It's just something that I read.
Okay. You could have read something there online about it, but
Yeah, I was just asking you something I read. I just was curious, so I'm sorry.
that's all right.
Okay. So how do you get how many pictures do you take per game? And then maybe how many do you delete?
I don't delete hardly anything unless it's like it's a misfire, because I still shoot strobe. I don't shoot available light, so I'm shooting the strobe light. And I shoot, depending on the game or what happens pre-game, I shoot anywhere from about 700 to almost 1,000. It depends. It all depends.
Wow.
On average, I say around 700 a night.
Wow.
But then the other night we had Eric Johnson's pregame, thing, and that's available light, so I shoot a little heavy on that. And then the league likes us to get player arrivals if we're there early enough, so we're outside getting them coming in. But on average, I say it's around 700. Out of that, we'll tag maybe 500 good ones, and then we'll go with a second edit of 200 really good ones, and that's what we'll upload to Getty for the NHL. Game night, I have an editor that works with me, and he'll pull maybe 25 to 30. The most important, what happens that evening, whether there's a pregame ceremony or the most important aspects of the game, just to tell the storyline of the game for the league and for all their affiliates that can pull them down off of Getty.
Okay.
Wow.
That's cool.
I didn't realize that there would be that many pictures.
Well, I shoot a lot. Some guys don't shoot as much. It depends on the photographer.
Okay, and you say you don't throw anything away, right? So you must have a lot of storage space for your
There's
pictures.
a lot of hard drives stored around the place. I still got DVDs and stuff like that from a number of years ago, and then in the basement I still have all the film.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In the early 80s.
Right.
All right. Well, while we talk about different photographers and all that as well, is there a pecking order of sorts to say, I want to shoot here versus another spot at different times? Or is it like a set, you go here kind of thing?
Nah, it's really set by the NHL. They have a pecking order, like you said, Lance, and it goes to, to the NHLI team photographer, which I am in the Philly market. I get first choice over everything. Then Getty Image, they send a photographer almost every home game also, and they're number two because they're league partners. Mm-hmm. And then they have league affiliates like Associated Press. They're usually 3, USA Today's 4, and then Icon Wire Service is the last wire service. But that's it. The league is very tight on their wire services. Those 4 right there. And then you have your local papers like the Inquirer Daily News come in and a few others in the area. And then the rest of it is just bloggers, internet bloggers that the team gives them credentials. They come in and work for their various blogs. Right. And they're down further. But it's the league affiliates to get, like I said, from myself to Getty to AP down the line. Now, when Upper Deck has the trading card company has a big deal with the NHL, so they only come in for a handful of regular season games. And when they come in, they're like pretty high up, maybe just below Associated Press. We have to, give them a good location.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right. Wow. So what kind of work goes into like media day? Like how much work is that for you, like for media day?
For me, to be honest, it's kind of easy, but for the Flyers behind the scenes, it's huge because they have a huge their own social media group. They have a couple guys that are filmmakers that they do all their cutaways and stuff. It's huge for the team. It's actually like a closed media day, because I know, like, what I've seen, the 76ers and I think the Eagles open it up to all members of the media, and they come into their day, where the Flyers, that they kind of close it just for their in-house work.
Right.
I'm there that day. I just do all the official headshots for the National Hockey League. So that guys always tell me I'm the easiest stop of the day, because I come there, it's a grip and grin for about 4 or 5 seconds, and they move on. Where they're really tied up, because they turn the entire Wells Fargo Center into like a big movie set. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
It looks like something out of Star Wars almost. It has that feel and look to it, and they have the players doing different skateaways and different spot lighting. It's a fun day, but it's a long day. But it's mainly for in-house work for all their needs. They try to get everything done that day, so they don't have to bother the guys throughout the season.
And another favorite is the the team photo. Now that's more for you, right?
Yeah, that I enjoy. That's become one of my more favorite opportunities of the year. Because I started doing the official team photo in the 06-07 season, and prior to that, I mean, I've done it from there to the present. And prior to that, Bernie Moser was the original Flyer photographer that Mr. Snyder hired in '67. And he did the actual team photo from '67 up into the early 2000s at the Wells Fargo.
Wow.
And he did all those classic team photos. Then Bruce Bennett picked it up for a few years to about 06, and I've picked it up ever since then to about excuse me, from about 06, 07 to the present. But
wow,
it's a cool opportunity, because you get the opportunity to action each one of those team photos to document the history of the team. Because one of my favorites is the 50th anniversary team. I was, fortunate there, and it was a great shot, So
that was that was very memorable. I still have a lot of those pictures of yours saved from that time period that I still love to have displayed on my computer, that I roll in a you know what I mean? My background rolls in a lot of your pictures, Lenny. So I'd just like to say thank you for filling up a lot of my hard drive space too.
But but the team photos, it's a cool event that day. But there's some, I don't want to say nerves, but there's a lot that goes on, to get everyone ready, and then you got 50 people on that stage, and the building has to come in and build a stage, and but it's fun. Everyone enjoys it. It's a good day.
Good deal. Yeah, I like some of the most recent ones too that you've done as well too. So that they've turned out really well, and thank you for doing that, man. So, any more for you, Lance?
Yeah, I got one. So I don't know. I would think it would be like, I don't know, a guitarist that has a bazillion different guitars in a sense, but could you tell me like a go-to camera of yours and a lens combo that maybe from a certain spot you want to pick, and just say, what is your current setup?
I currently now use a Canon 28 to 300 millimeter, but I'm using a new mirrorless, the R5, because it's a huge file. It's a 45 meg file. And like I was saying earlier, I still shoot with strobes in the building. So I'm able to sync that at around 500 a second electronic shutter speed, along with the strobes that fire at over the flash duration of the lights are like about 5 thousandths of a second. So that just, like, my images, the guys kind of look frozen. And if you see someone else that shoots available light, I mean, it's kind of a cooler, pastel look. It's a cooler, flatter look. I mean, it doesn't have as much pop, but the strobe just has that quick flash of light and gives it just a pop. So I mean, not saying that the others aren't nice, because the development of cameras today, the available light has come light years. It's a very nice image also. It's just a different way of shooting, and there's not that many of us really that shoot strobe anymore. I mean, I think about 18 of us in the entire NHL still shoot strobe. A lot of the guys are going to available light. I know Jesse from the 76ers, he still uses strobes. It's a more creative way, and it's, like I said, it gives you more a dramatic look.
Okay. And just to get more of a clarification, strobe, is that the lights in the building or is that the flash that you're using? Or
That's the flash. You have a series of flash heads and power packs that are on the catwalk itself. And I have about 8 of them I use, and they all go off simultaneously. They're all hardwired, and I have them synced in with a RF radio slave that goes onto my camera, and they just go off simultaneously. And it's hard to see because today with the LEDs in the arena is very bright. Years ago, Spectrum, you would see it go off, and it would like, whoa,
right.
When you had those old dim buildings and arena. But today in this arena, it's very hard to pick up that strobe anymore. But I use that with a 28 to 300 millimeter. And like I said, I shoot on the R5 a crop factor of 1.6. So it gives me a focal length of about a 44 to 480 millimeter, which I found since they came out with this new mirrorless camera, I find it the best focal length I've ever covered hockey with.
Wow.
And so when I sit in that corner where you see me, like when NBC Sports does their hits, that's what I'm using, is at 28 to 300 at a 1.6 crop factor. Like I said, I'm covering the entire rink at that corner with that one lens and camera.
All right.
Okay.
Who foots the bill for that? Do you have to foot the bill for that, or the Flyers?
Well, no, it's my own business. The NHL pays the team, and the team pays. The money comes from the league because the league owns all my rights. I mean, the team can also use my images for whatever they want, but the NHL owns the exclusive rights to every team photographer. And so we get paid from the NHL to the Flyers to myself.
Okay.
So it's just a business expense. You buy them, you write it off, depreciate it over time, and like anything else.
Right.
Okay. So you're almost kind of like a contractor, basically.
Yes,
right?
it's what I am. It's the way that the contract is set up from the NHL. You're either a game night employee or a contractor.
Okay.
It is. You're not an actual, say, Flyer employee.
Right.
That's the way that the league sets it up that way.
Okay. Wow.
Because my whole program is really driven by the NHL. I mean, not mine, but all 32 team photographers. It's run by them, and then they filter it down to each team.
So you get like marching orders from them?
Yeah, they give us every night. They give us, a number of their requests, and then I'll get, heads up from the team about certain things they want to, and then we just go from there.
Oh wow. Okay. So like, do you like meet with the folks from the team to go over what they want?
Because we set up in the same work area, and we see each other, pre-game. So we just kind of, something happens, hey, get this, or you'll be aware of this, or this, keep this on your radar. But we interact together all evening. So wow. The only thing I get, like marching orders, like you said, is the NHL will send us an email around early afternoon.
With their list of things that they need, right?
But there's things that they're requesting for the evening.
Okay.
And then me being like the home team, sometimes I get to go and get called in to go to the visiting locker room. Like 2 years ago when Boston got their, what was it, 63? What was it, 62 or 63 wins? You can correct me.
Yeah.
Pasta. It was the last home game, I think, in Philly, where Pasta got his. I forget how many goals did he get that? Over 60 goals too.
Yeah, a ton.
Yeah.
Because I went in and got his goal, his last goal that season. They wanted it documented, like a milestone picture in the Bruins locker room, and I'll get called in from time to time to do that.
Okay.
Throughout
like when they hold up the little puck that has the tape on it.
Like, because the visiting team, sometimes they don't bring someone with them, and they'll say, hey, can you pop in the locker room? I've done a handful of them throughout the years for visiting teams also. So you've got to kind of cover both ends of it for the league, and
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, since the Flyers kind of are your home team, I'm assuming you're rooting for them, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So now, what is a great picture to you?
To me, it's just to capture the emotion of the event more than just, whether it's, I don't know, winning goal or not. I always look for emotion. in the images, players' emotions, win, lose, or an image away from the, play, or, something behind the scenes. I've kind of always liked that.
Okay. So that's what all right. I like that. I mean, it's funny because you can see that it comes through in your pictures.
I mean, because a lot of like the newspaper guys are always there trying to get that split second, for instant gratification for their publication. But I'm there to do that also, but I kind of expand over that. And like with the remote photography, I like to get a different perspective, like the other night over the players bench when Tippett scored. I had one right over top of the players bench where he comes by and gives a flyby. It's a different perspective that you don't normally see from the day in and day out,
right,
photographer.
Exactly. How do you get those? Is that like a remote camera, or?
That's a remote. It's a camera that's fixed into the catwalk. It's tied in there, fixed in there. It's all tied in, safety with safeties and everything. And then you just have RF radios, little RF radios that are plugged into the camera. And I simply, at certain points at a time, will watch, like if they score a goal and they're skating to the bench, I'll kind of focus on that, and I'll just fire the remote from that little section that you see me sitting there on TV. Because sometimes I'm not shooting the camera, but I'm firing the remote. So I'm still taking images, but I'm not using the one I use all the time looking through that hole. Good. That's the same thing like when you shoot a net cam or,
right,
going overhead over the bench. It's just, there's a feel to it,
I mean,
busy guy for sure.
You're one of the best, I think, as far as I'm concerned. And what is some of the newest technology that you're using? I know you talked about one of the cameras being mirrorless.
The mirrorless, and then they had the new autofocus in it, which is really cool because you may have seen some of this when they first came out, where they'd have like the eye focusing, and a lot of it deals with when they show the example like hummingbirds. Well, a lot of us don't shoot hummingbirds, and that eye focusing doesn't work. I still use, for the most part, I move the focusing point around with my thumb. I'll center it, expand it a little bit. But like with a remote camera, like the one I had over the bench or over the goal or even the back of the net, with the new mirrorless, I'll stick it on instead of like eye focusing. They have one that tracks vehicles, like cars, bicycles, and that's kind of what the guys are. And all right. And so that's what I use like in the remotes, and that works well. I mean, the focusing, it's just, for not holding the camera in your hand and it's 200 feet in the air, or
you're right
in the back of a net, and you're just pushing a little RF button to trigger it, it's phenomenal.
Wow. And is that something that you set up yourself? Is that something that you worked out yourself, or was that a mandate to you, or is that just something that
I just set it up? When the new cameras, because years ago we used to pre-focus. You had all this new autofocus technology. You would just pre-focus. You look at the old lenses that goes by feet, like from 1 foot to infinity. Because years ago you would focus or even take a picture or expose it by how many feet you're away from the subject, if you were an old studio guy.
Wow. Okay. Holy smokes.
Do you got any help?
You got any help setting all this stuff up? You can't be doing all
this. I set it all myself up. I enjoy it. I'm very active at it, and I get there early and I set things up. And like I said, I do have an assistant and a helper on game nights that helps me with the editing and gets the live images up to Getty for the NHL's purposes and for the team's needs.
Right.
So what's an early night? You're saying early. What's an early night to get there? Because I know when I cover a game, I get there 5 o'clock or something, 5:30 for a 7 o'clock start.
I normally get there around 3 in the afternoon, because a lot of times I need to get up on the catwalk, and that from 3 to 4, the building has all the lights on. Because if you Lance, like you notice, you go to the games before, it's usually dark.
Yeah.
It's always dark. The lights are out, and a lot of times, if it's a big event night, they'll have their projection screens, and it'll be the arena vision will be going through all their dry run-throughs for the scoreboards, all the LEDs. So they need the building dark. But from 3 to 4 on a 7 o'clock start, they leave an hour window open where the building is 100% lit. And that reason is the NHL off-ice officials or the hockey ops guys who control the replays and the nets on the blue lines, they have to calibrate all their cameras, and they need the lights on. So they need an hour in the afternoon. So that's the time that the building designates, and that's when I normally get there. Once I get up there and get my stuff done, and I'll take a little break, and when it gets closer to game time, I'll get something to eat. Then gets closer to game time, I'll start to work. But I kind of beat the traffic. There's no rush. You get there, there's no crowds. You get a good parking spot, and
I mean, take a lesson from the man. Mm. Oh my! Well, I'll tell you what. What has been your most favorite shot over the last, say, 3 seasons?
Oof, last 3 seasons. I like the outdoor games. I mean, as an event, I don't have one particular shot. Years ago, I showed you that one years ago I did with Mario and Gretzky at the All-Star game.
Yeah.
It's more of something, like I said, behind the scenes. I mean, like last night I thought a really cool one of Kozlov in the tunnel. They had smoke coming in and all the orange lights, and it was just an environmental type image that had nothing to do with the winning goal or the winning save or not, but it was just a cool. Yeah, there are things that I kind of always like shooting outside of the game stuff because they kind of stand out.
Yeah, I think it is pretty neat with that stretch down there, how it's not just concrete walls or something down there like it used to be.
I know.
It's got all kinds of different stuff down there and all kinds of different lighting.
It's nice.
And I like how you try to get guys focused before or after a game, coming, standing there and them not even maybe know you're there necessarily because they're so focused on what they're going to do in that game. And it leads for good shots down there, I think.
But I always kind of like the environmental kind of creative behind the scenes imaging like that. And now what they started doing last year, which is cool, when they win, they turn all the lights on and they spotlight the players. They have the whole building is kind of lit in dark orange. And then the player comes out to say the first star of the game, he'll salute the crowd. And they spot. It's a cool effect and nice looking image, to
for
get
sure,
the
man.
there.
I'm always very much love to see your special either pregame or postgame pictures that are just like what Lance was saying in the tunnel and everything else like that. And so, I mean, like I said, man, you fill up a lot of my hard drive space, man. So, all right. What do you think of the team so far this year?
I mean, they got off a little slow start, but they're picking it up. I mean, they're going to be there, I think. They battled to the last game last year and just about made the playoffs, and I think that's what they'll be this year. Come season's end, I hope get in the playoffs would be really nice.
Get a little healthier. Yeah, everybody's on the back end seems to be a little beaten up and bruised right now. So hopefully we get a little bit healthier on the back end, the defense and goaltending there with Harrison out, and hopefully we'll be able to battle.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Well, I'll tell you what. This has been an honor and a privilege to have you on, Lenny. We always love getting caught up with you and talking shop, basically, with you. You know what I mean? So it's fascinating for me, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much for being on here, man. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, and thanks for chatting with me too. It's everyone that follows my work. It's nice to see the response and what everyone, the comments everyone leaves. So everyone enjoys it as much as I do. It's something it's been a passion of mine for a lot of years, and social media has been able to get a lot of myself out there now. Years ago, you never had this.
Right. Exactly. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of, give you this platform a little bit, you know what I mean? And just kind of get it out there a little bit about what exactly it is that you do, a little bit of behind the scenes from one of the greats, as far as what I'm concerned. You're one of the great ones as far as I'm concerned. So
thank you.
I always want to know what's going on back there, what's working in the gears, you know what I mean? So this is one of the reasons why we love having you on.
Okay. Thank you, Steel.
Appreciate it. Lance, do you have anything else for this man?
No, man, we'll let him go. I know he's been under the weather a little bit, so we won't keep him too long. We appreciate the time that you do give us, and it's always
Yeah.
good hearing from you.
All right, Lance. Nice chatting with you too. All right, guys.
Thank you very much, man. We will talk to you soon, sir.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Maybe I'll see you at the game sometime too.
Yeah.
Hopefully, man. We're
Say
trying.
hello if you come up.
All
We're
right.
trying, buddy.
All
We're
right.
trying.
Okay, guys. Have a good night now.
Thanks, Lenny. Well, Lance, I got to tell you, man, that was great having Lenny on, man. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, the guy is amazing. A legend in his field, and just timeless, I would say.
Yeah.
From the time he started and all the technology that has come through, and he's been able to just persevere through it and be a leader using most of this. Now, I don't know how he does it
I
with all
know.
these cameras positioned all over the rink,
I know.
as he was talking about, and somehow managing to keep track of all of it. I think I would screw something up pretty well, but
Yeah.
better him than me for sure in that sense, for sure.
Oh man, I got to tell you, what an honor and a privilege it was to speak to the legend himself, the official photographer of the Philadelphia Flyers. You get the Hockey Writers Inc. salute for being on the show. Thank you very much, Lenny. We really appreciate you being on here. So, what do you think, Lance? Should we talk a little Philadelphia Flyers?
I think we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit of Flyers here. So, they had a little bit of a winning streak, right?
Yeah. I mean, before they played a playoff team like the Avalanche, but
Yeah,
sure, they had a little bit of a winning streak going there between, the San Jose Sharks, the Senators, and the Sabres.
All right. Okay. So make it be even more tinier than I'm making it. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Sabres are a halfway decent team, but they were
And Senators
without
aren't
Tage
all that
Thompson, so
horrible.
yeah. Well, the
Okay. All
Senators
right. I get it.
yeah.
I'm trying to jack it up a little bit here. Okay. Because
Still,
let's face it,
yeah,
3-0
still not
and
teams
1.
that are going to be there come springtime, but whatever.
I mean, let's face it, 3-0 and 1 in the last. Well, actually, now it's 3-1 and 1 in the last 5 games here. Once the Avalanche came into town, and that was pretty much the end of that point streak and going into overtime and whatever you want to call it. But I have to say this though, I wasn't that terribly disappointed per se in the Colorado game.
No.
Right? Because, okay, let's face it. They were, they're 2 years removed from winning the cup, right? So, and they made it to the playoffs last year. Still a good team.
Not a bad team at all. Not a bad team at all.
I mean, when you got McKinnon and McCarr on your team, you got it going on.
Yeah, I mean Ratner. There's a list of guys on that team that I would gladly take.
Taves,
and I mean,
yeah.
I mean, would gladly take. So, especially with the team dealing with so many injuries, and I think we're going to get into that in a little bit. But kudos to the Flyers to kind of at least putting up a good fight there last night.
I mean, right? We'll take it. I mean, getting points. That's kind of got to be the mantra here at the beginning of the season is getting points.
Yeah, and I mean, getting points is good, especially when you get the points that you're supposed to be getting. That those wins against the Sharks and the Senators and the Sabres, those are wins you should be winning. Now, would it have been nice to win against the Avalanche? Yes. But, I'd rather beat some teams up in the Eastern Conference and take those points and suffer a loss to a team out west that doesn't really, affect our standings as much. Now a true test is going to be coming shortly tomorrow against the Hurricanes. And then, the Golden Knights come to town, and you got the Rangers coming to town, and the
Man, Lance, you're
Panthers
not giving me
again.
good news here, man.
So, those are the tough games that the Flyers are going to need to play up for. And, there is some teams sprinkled in there like the Blackhawks and everything that are winnable games. So, it's not going to be something where they're so beaten down by,
Yeah.
these playoff teams. It's sprinkled in there, but, some true tests are going to be out there for sure within the next week or so.
Here's the thing, though. Last year, when the Flyers were playing against these kinds of teams, and we were all doing exactly what we're doing now, cringing at the thought of, oh my gosh, now we have to play against the likes of Tampa Bay, the likes of Florida, the likes of Carolina, and we're just cringing at that thought because we already know that it's not going to end well, right? But the team has last year. The difference between last year and this year is the team last year was in those games fighting hard. I'm not quite seeing that just yet with this team. I'm not seeing. I've seen the fact that they kind of had to claw back against Ottawa. Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't have to claw back against that kind of a team.
No.
I understand you clawing back against the Florida, or somebody like that, or the Capitals or whatever, but you should be taking care of business, right?
Yeah, you should. And like you said, last year's team played every game. I think they were in every game. They didn't get their butts spanked and, whatever.
It was a close game.
They were in every game right down to the last minute. They made it interesting despite not having a Mishkov on the team. Some guys really, really stepped up, and Owen Tippett, and developed to be a better player. And, Konechny as well. Obviously, he's been a staple of this franchise for a while. And, he kind of took the reins when other players went down with injury, or, there just wasn't a true superstar on the team. Now we have one in the making, but he's young. There's going to be some time. There's going to be some rough patches with him. Obviously, he sat out a couple of games, was made to sit out a couple of games. And, I think all of us, were saying some words we didn't want heard out loud under our breath when that happened. But
you know what, though, Lance? You know what? Look at how he responded.
Right.
Look at what he did in the next two games after getting benched, right? Now, look, everybody's going to say all the things that they're going to say, but in reality, unless you're there with Tortorella and Michkov, you have no clue what's going on. All you're doing is speculating, right? So seriously, if the rumor mill says that he wasn't listening or he was doing something wrong or whatever, and you need to do that to a player, look, he is 19. Okay, I understand everybody's saying grown man, all this other kind of stuff, but seriously, how much of a grown man are you at 19? And are we really to the point now where we can't take a step back to learn a lesson? I mean, are you ever too old to take a step back to learn a lesson? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I hear that, but
yeah, it sucks that he was out for 2 games, but
I want to see a Calder Trophy. I want to see a Rookie of the Year candidate come out of Philly, because I don't think there has really been one.
Not since I think Reed was considered at one point. I know Gagne was
considered, but I don't think there's ever been
in the voting. I don't think there ever
right. I don't think there's ever been a straight Flyers. I mean, even with guys like Lindros and stuff like that, he didn't win one. So
No.
it would just be nice to see. I mean, it would also be nice to see a Stanley Cup. So, if that came first before that, and he comes in second or third in the running, I guess I'll take it. But
Yeah, gee,
yeah,
gee, oh gosh.
yeah, I just don't want to see missed opportunity, and I get the kid has some still stuff to lose, but as far as his defensive play or whatever like that, there's a bunch of other guys on this team that had a worse plus minus rating than him. At least he was putting in a 1.5 game before he was set down and come back with a vengeance, especially the next 2 games or so after being sat down. So, I mean, he's doing his part offensively. He makes this power play what it is now. It's not among the league leaders, but it's also not the league's worst like it was the
Right.
2 prior seasons. So there's a lot of pluses to Mishkov, and what he's been able to bring to this team at such a young age. But it's only going to get better from here, I think. The team is still building. It's still working towards, being a playoff contender. And, we know the Flyers have a ton of draft picks lined up for this upcoming draft. So
Yeah.
hopefully more just like him to come.
I mean, that wouldn't be a horrible thing.
No.
We'll take a couple more of those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we know there's going to be some good players available when the Flyers are going to pick. And if the Flyers really wanted to, they could potentially use some of that draft capital to get into the running of the, first, second, third round guy, if that's what they wanted to do. They have the draft capital to do so. You know what I mean? But here's the other thing that I kind of wanted to touch on here real quick, and that is that we're starting to see some of the injuries mount up here as of late. We saw Sean Couturier miss a game here or there. We see now that Sam Ersson is on IR.
Right.
We've been missing Cam York now for how many weeks now, and I understand that he's close to coming back.
Yeah, he's a full participant in practice. He just still remains on IR for some reason. So, I mean, he's close, I would say, to coming back. But then you got Jamie Drysdale, too.
He was the other one I was going to mention, too, that's now on IR.
Yep, and I mean, his name is getting pretty familiar on that list year after year, and that's kind of the reason he was, a piece that was traded here, and Anaheim was willing to part with him. He did gain a lot of weight and a lot of muscle in the offseason, which was great. But apparently he's still a little injury prone. So hopefully he'll be able to come back soon. He is skating. He is a non-contact jersey, wearing a non-contact jersey the last time I checked. But, now, with those guys being down, Cam York and Drysdale, we had Emil Andre step up and play the last 10 or so games and look pretty darn sharp in those outings.
And now he's out now, too, for a little bit of a nick.
Yep, and for that, hard-nosed play that he's been out there just, bumping and grinding out there along the boards and everything like he's supposed to be. Yeah, he's now banged up for a day or two, so at least he's not on IR, I guess.
Right. But we said he was one of those players that was going to be making a difference because they're going to be the first available for the call-up. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he's proven to be that type of player where, I'll be real honest with you, man. I would like to see him stay.
Yeah, I mean, he offers something. I think that others don't, for sure. And if we're talking, players we hyped up and spoke about, we also talked about Helge Grans, who came over in the deal with Provorov and from the Kings organization, and my is a young, talented defenseman. I had high regards for him when he was drafted in the second round of the 2020 draft, and he's 6'4", 205 pounds, a right-hand shot, all good things that teams look for. And he's just 22 years old, guys. He's a young defenseman. He's played one game now with the Flyers, and even though
Yeah.
they lost that game, he had an assist in that game, and he was a +2. So
Hey.
I mean, in his first, goal or game with the Flyers and in the NHL, he's never played an NHL game yet. Before this, he played 16 minutes plus and was able to be a +2. And I mean, from this old goaltender, I got to tell you, I'll take that any
All
day
day long.
from a goaltender or from a defenseman.
Yeah.
A plus player call up. Yeah, give me more of those.
You're right. I mean, that just goes to show you how important it is to be a plus player and how much of a negative it is to being a minus player. Speaking of a minus player, not necessarily on the injury list, but haven't seen hide nor hair of Frost lately.
Well, I'm not too mad about that.
Nope.
I'm not his biggest fan, and while a lot of people are, for some reason still, I mean, he's been he's been scratched for a good reason, I would have to say. And he's played 16 games this year. He scored just 1 goal and 5 assists for 6 points in those 16 games played, and he's a -10. Not
back
too
to that
good.
minus again.
Yep, that minus, right? The team kept promoting him as being this great two-way player, and he was one of the only. I have to give him credit. I don't usually do this, but he was one of the only plus players last year. He finished with a +4. So
for the first time in his career.
First time in his career. Yeah, first time in his career.
+4.
He's usually about this average of -11, -12. Now he's a -10. I don't know when the Flyers are going to get over him, and maybe it's soon. There's a lot of teams that are calling, as I wrote in my article that I put out today. There's a lot of team calling about guys. Frosty's one of them. Obviously, teams see that he's not, so well liked with him, being
kind of
being on the outside sometimes or in, towards his doghouse. Farabee's name's been brought up. Bobby Brink's name's been brought up in certain trade rumors and teams at least calling about them, and as well as Ristolainen as well. But
and of course Scotty Lawton too.
Scotty Lawton's been there for the past couple of seasons. He's an interesting candidate there. He's 30 years old. He's signed for a reasonable deal for his age. Yep, for a couple more years, and he's a great forechecker. He's a great penalty killer. We need some scoring centers, and old Morgan Frost ain't doing it here with his 1 goal this season. So and that's why he might be in the loop. You got to remember, guys, that this is a new management, with Keith Jones and Danny Briere running things, and some of these guys that have been long-term Flyers for a while now may be on the way out, because you got to make room for some of their guys coming in that they have drafted, and they've drafted pretty well, I have to say.
We've seen, yeah.
Yep, so far we've seen with the likes of Mishkov and Jetlachenko and some of the trades, he's made for guys like Helge Grans to be able to come in and replace some of those AHL defenders that have kind of been stuck there for a while and are now 24, 25, 26 and still in the minors and haven't made that jump yet to the NHL. He's got to replace those guys at some point, and the AHL is great, and you can be a veteran in the AHL, and I would take that job, being paid to be a professional hockey player, but more so it should be viewed as a team that can build your developing talent and further help them grow. And a guy who's 22 and Helge Grans, and already making jumps to the NHL, in my mind, deserves to be there more than a 26 or 27-year-old defenseman that is a career maybe call-up guy for a game or two when they get in a situation like they are this season. I don't know, Steve.
Okay, I'm with you on that. So we did touch a little bit on your article there, and you did most recently put an article out here about the Flyers potentially getting a waiver wire player that unfortunately was claimed today. But you did touch on some of the things that we talked about as far as some of the names on the trade block.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And look, the reality of things is this. In a rebuilding team, everything is subject to change because you're looking for that combination of guys that's going to get you to where you need to go. And some of that might even have to do with coaching staff, and some of that might have to do with the players that are out on the ice. You know what I mean? But maybe look, I'm just trying to look through the the looking glass and kind of see things on the positive side. If the Flyers do make the playoffs, say in the next 4 to 5 years,
oh God, I hope it's not that long.
Well, if within the next 4 to 5 years, like so from now till 5 years from now, say they win a cup.
Oh,
right?
I mean, I'm okay with it. Yeah, winning a cup in that short time span.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean.
I thought you were saying just make the playoffs. Hopefully, we make the playoffs before then.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm talking about winning a cup here.
Contention, real contention. Yeah.
Yeah. Say within the next 5 years.
Okay.
Right. I mean, not all the guys that you see on the ice right now are going to be on that team.
Yeah.
You might not even be the same coach. Yeah, you know what I mean. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say here is you have to temper the expectations of this team until we get the team that we're actually going to be. Look, I'm not trying to say that this team isn't a potential contender, but right now they're not showing me that. You know what I mean? They're not playing to that level. They're not showing me that level. You got a guy, Joel Farabee, who 2 years ago was leading the team in goals and has only put up, 3 goals this year?
Yeah, not many at all, for sure. Especially for what he's being paid. The guy's, getting paid $5 million. I expect a little bit more out of him, and
right?
he's not playing up to that 20, 25 goal, plateau right now.
Right.
That the team paid him to do so.
He elevated his game. He elevated his game and then got paid, and now he's not doing as much. Now,
well, and with that being said, though, Steel, I talked about this in my article today too, and in a sense, like with Mishkov coming in, you got your guys, you got your Owen Tippett, you got your Mishkovs, you got your Konechny's, you got your Forster, Tyson Forster, and those guys are going to be making up those top two, lines of wings, and now guys like Brink and Farabee are going to be further down the depth chart, especially if they're not able to produce when they're given the chances to do so. And, so you got to think, and Bobby Brink's no longer on a rookie deal. He's making $1.5 million a year, which is no chump change himself. So if a team is going to be calling, the Flyers and the Flyers find themselves in a situation as they are right now and a little bit from now, I can see them possibly taking that and saying, hey, Bobby Brink is a good player, but he's not a guy that we would consider to be on a championship contending team. So if he's not going to be that for us now, why not try to get a first or a second round, probably a second or third round pick for him?
Yeah,
Farabee might garner you a first round pick, in that sense, come deadline, especially if a team has got injuries or something like that and headed into the playoffs. That guy can step up when he's consistent. But Brink is a guy that could go for a second round pick. And I think I would take that for him at this point because, while he's still young and could develop, I don't think he's going to outmatch, the Mishkovs of the world and fight for, time against a guy like Konechny. Forrester's
Yeah.
got a much better shot, and he's, longer,
little bigger, faster. Yeah.
longer, faster, got a little bit more size to him. So, those guys are always going to get, more playing time usually than that. So, we're still rebuilding. Let's rebuild. Let's take all the assets we can, like they have already done, and acquired potentially 3 first and 3 second round picks this summer. That is going to vamp your cupboard or whatever you want to call it, your depth charts. And possibly, are you going to strike gold every single time and get a Mishkov? Probably not. But um you know right now, this is my most trusted guy in the past 15 years, I would say, running this team, that I would uh be willing to wager these kind of deals in order to get him the ability to draft as many players as he can, because these guys that he's drafting are producing, especially in the early rounds. I like what I seen from
Can't
Jet
disagree about
Lachenko.
that.
I like what I seen from Jet Lachenko. He
Yeah.
went back to the OHL, and it seems like he hasn't missed a step, even though he
Nope.
missed camp and everything there, and jumped in as the season's already going. And he's putting up some more goals. He's taking up, definitely more chances of his own instead of just passing it off like he did prior. I think
Yep.
he's gained a lot more, um, you know,
He's
self-respect and,
developing.
and and confidence in himself. He's developing, and that little bit of time with the Flyers, shown that uh, you know he's going to be hungry. This time next year when camp comes around again. He's not going to want to be sent back anywhere. He's not going to want to be playing in the AHL. He's going to want to make a long stay in the Flyers for the next 10 years.
Exactly. And we're kind of hoping that we get to see that, you know what I mean? And I don't even have a problem with the fact that they sent him back down. I mean, I was kind of hoping he was going to stick around, but you could definitely see he was a little bit out of his element. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
Yeah, I mean, at times he was one that looked more of a rookie than Mishkov obviously did. Mishkov has been playing in the KHL, a professional league against men in
Exactly.
Russia for a couple of years. So
Yeah.
um, it is what it is. I think he'll continue to develop, and I want him to get top line minutes. I want Jet to get first power play minutes and stuff like that, so that this time next year he's thriving in the NHL.
So I want to do this in a bit of a compressed manner here now. I know we had the Lenny on the show here, so I want to kind of just change gears. Look, the Flyers are in a spot right now. They got some tough games coming up, and I think it's something to where the Russians in net need to step up, need to be able to. I think Fedotov has looked a lot better in net over the last couple of games. I think Bush said it the other night on one of the broadcasts that the more playing time he gets, the better he's gotten. Because when you play one game and then you go 7 or 8 days before you play the next game,
That's
and then
tough. That's
it's
definitely tough.
yeah, so I mean, you got to give the guy a little bit of rotation here. So now with the injuries and everything to Arison and everything else like that, we're seeing both of the Russian goalies in, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I think that's a good healthy competition there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that needs to happen. You are paying, Ivan the most money out of all three goaltenders. So, he's going to need consistent starts at some point, to get him in there. He's used to that. He's used to being the workhorse. He's used to being the guy in the
Right.
KHL and playing most of
Yeah.
the games. So, I think he'll settle in more. What I've liked to see, some more work with him in the off season or whatever, so he could have jumped in and been ready to go out of the gate. Yes. Um,
We
but
didn't see that.
it is what it is. But
Yeah.
he's played 6 games now, and he's been able to drop his goals against average, considerably from the ridiculous like 5 goals a game average or more that he was uh, at the start of the season. But I still would like to see the save percentage go up. Um, you know, it is what it is. But we'll we'll see. He's 500 goaltender right now with 3 wins and 3 losses. So um,
He's
it'll
looking better.
it'll look better. Yeah, I think he's seeing through the
Coming around.
screens a lot better. That's something that is not so common in the KHL because they play on the bigger Olympic style ice,
Yeah,
and
more spread out.
it's more spread out and stuff like that, and so it's going to take a little bit of time, and I think it's starting to show through.
Yep, I'm with you on that. So, speaking of shining through here, let's switch gears here to our illustrious Lehigh Valley Phantom section. Oh man, I tell you what. Now got to got to the privilege the other day of seeing the game on the NHL network. That was a good win for the Phantoms and that, and they won a couple of games, but they, they're okay, 6-5-2. They're above 500, right? But
Yeah.
but 6-5-2 with the amount of games that they played so far, right? I'm getting that same kind of feel,
Yeah,
but
yeah, but I mean, they did have to play Hershey recently and all that good stuff. So,
right, and Wilkes-Barre twice they played already,
right.
and they played the Griffins. They were the number one team at the time as well too. So they've lost to some good teams, but they've beaten some good teams too.
Well, too, you got to factor in that Emile Andre has been brought up, and has played 10 games with the Flyers. He's only played 1 game with the Phantoms before being called up, and
Right,
so that was
a
a
big
kick in the
hurt. Yep.
pants to their defensive unit, and with that now, and Helge Grans, who was supposed to be one of the guys on the defensive end, has been called up, and I imagine he'll go back. Obviously as guys become healthier, but
Coming back, yeah.
Anthony Richard has been called up and been thriving. So the team is doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're you
Providing.
know providing for their NHL club, and these guys that they're providing with the Richards being brought in by Danny
Man,
Briere.
really
With
impressed with him this year.
I mean, the kid can skate. He seems determined not to be sent back down. He said he's tired of riding the bus. He wants to be, up with the big boys.
The
And
jet
he th-
airliner.
and I think he's deserved that so far. But you know, so we have to think that they're doing the job essentially. I don't care if yes, would it be nice to see them win a championship like the Hershey Bears have done? Sure, but if they can keep providing guys, fill in guys, and Coach Ian LaPerriere down there keeping these guys at the ready for when they are needed for to be called up, I'll take that. I'll take that any day. And as well with Alexi being called up, now with
Yeah.
with that as well. So just in a short amount of time, they have lost a ton of their players to the Flyers just from the injury bug alone. But I would like to see um, both the guys, the Latvian guy, Rodrigo Abulas that we brought in, and the Swede, Oscar Eklund, start to produce a little bit more. They're getting used to the North American game and such, and the language and all that other stuff, like Mishkov is. But I would like to see those guys. I thought I would see a little bit more from them. They are among the team's league leaders, or the team's leaders, I should say, in points. But I want to see a little bit more from them as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that as well too. And uh, the Phantoms have kind of a tough road to climb as well too. The same with the Flyers. Their schedule doesn't get any easier. You know what I mean? With Hershey coming up a couple games, Wilkes-Barre, another rivalry with them, and those are teams that they need to beat. You know what I mean? Because they need to be able to climb over them teams to get to where they want to go if they want to make it to the playoffs or whatever the case is. Look, I get it. Would I love to see the Phantoms win Calder Cup after Calder Cup? Yeah, that would be great. But I'm kind of with you, Lance. I would much rather put Stanley Cups in the building, and quite frankly, even if the Phantoms don't play in the same building, I'm with you. I would much rather them being there to provide the call-ups, being that junior team that they're supposed to be, to help those players develop.
Yeah.
Get those guys in rhythm. Get the guys that are supposed to be playing top-line minutes, give them top-line minutes. They're not going to be able to get that in the NHL because there's too many guys ahead of them. Right. You know what I mean? That's what I believe the AHL is supposed to be for.
And I think Ian's doing that. Ian's doing that.
That's what I'm trying to get at. I think they're doing that. I think when Danny Briere came in and changed all the coaching staff and the development staff and the scouting staff and all that other stuff, you're starting to see some of the fruits of that labor. Yeah. Because now you got guys that can play in the Phantoms and then, oh, hey, man, we need to have Emil Andre, we need to have Helge Grounds, and they can come in and step in. Oh, we need to have your goaltender, too, and they can step in. And the Phantoms, they're going to lose some games, but they're still winning.
Yeah, the organization's winning. With how they're doing, yeah.
Yeah, look, it's going to take a while. It's called a rebuild for a reason, okay? You don't build Rome in a day. It takes a minute, and having the patience, because we see the writing on the wall. We see that there's a plan out there. We see that everything's starting to come together. You're starting to see that the Phantoms are now being more supportive of the Flyers because they're able to supply them with good quality,
prospects
players
to call up, yeah.
Yeah, that they can call up, that can step in for a game 2, 6, 10, or 20. You know what I mean? And then as soon as the guy that they're replacing comes back healthy, they go back down, and then they light it up down there too. You know what I mean? So I'm with you on that, and I think the Phantoms, they have some opportunities this year, but of course with the call-ups, it makes it that much tougher. But would like to do a quick shout out for Luxell got his 100th point, right? In the AHL, I believe, a couple games ago. And I know this is a little bit old here, but big shout out to Bob Rotruck for all the coverage that he does for the Phantoms and for celebrating his 1,000th game, a couple weeks ago. But congratulations on that, man, and thank you for all that you do, Mr. Rotruck. We really appreciate all the coverage for the Phantoms. Well, Lance, I think we got a good one here. What do you think?
I think so, man. We covered a lot of different things. We've had a special guest on with us tonight, and
I know.
I think we fed these fans enough food for thought on this for the week. So we'll touch back next week with another show.
Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. Speaking of another show, this is episode number 182, and the Hockey Writers Inc. welcomes Lenny Redkoles. And man, Lance, I got to tell you, that was awesome having Lenny on. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, just a great guy, a great person in general, and man, I always love hearing his stories for sure. The guy's a legend in his field. So
exactly. Well, we'd also like to say a big shout out to all of the Facebook groups. Really appreciate you guys allowing us to post out there on your groups, and appreciate you all the great feedback that we've been getting, especially on Lance's articles. Keep it coming. We love it. We love it. Keep it coming. It just goes to show you how smart the Philadelphia Flyers fans truly are, and how much they really do truly care about the team and the game. You know what I mean? So, also, man, folks, you got to go to lowercaseblues.net. Check those boys out. They got some of the greatest music you're going to want to listen to, especially if you're into some of that awesome music like you get to hear the beginning of this show, right? Those guys were the ones that made the music for the show. Got to go check them out. Lowercaseblues.net. Big thanks to Jake and all the boys, man. We really appreciate it. Can't wait to have you guys on the show one of these days. So by all means, man, hit us up, man. We'd love to have you on, man, just to talk and have fun and just talk Flyers. You know what I mean? So I think that would be a fun show. We got to have you guys on. So really appreciate Lowercase Blues. Go to lowercaseblues.net. Check them out for sure, for sure. Also, big thanks to Spreaker for all your help in getting us to all the platforms, the podcasting platforms out there, from iHeart to Spotify, you name it. All you have to do is type in Hockey Writers Inc. and our name will come up. Give us a 5-star rating. By the way, if you like what we do, please hit that like and subscribe and smash that thumbs up button because, man, that really helps us out, and we really appreciate if you guys would do that. Hey, Lance, anything in the works here, buddy?
Working on acquiring a couple new interviews for Prospect Watch. Our other podcast that has been getting some pretty good players on, if I do say so myself.
Yes, you can say so yourself.
Yep. A lot of those guys might have the chance to be Flyers with the amount of picks that the Flyers have this year. So, tune into those if you aren't already watching, because a lot of those guys might be in black and orange one day.
Wouldn't that be great too? So for sure, please go to the SteelFlyers All Sports Network at SteelFlyers.com. Check out all the great shows from Prospect Watch to the Hockey Writers Inc. To the Nittany Report and the SteelFlyers All Sports Network podcast. Be sure to go to SteelFlyers.com. Check that out. Also, check us out on YouTube, and also check us out on the Facebook groups as well too. Thank you all for checking out Hockey Writers Inc., a Philadelphia Flyers-centric podcast. I'm your co-host, Ron SteelFlyers, and we will catch you all on the next episode.